What's up, everyone? I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today we're going to be talking about nerfs, buffs, and some changes to the game. So I want to keep it short and simple for the intro, and let's just get to it and start talking about the elephant in the room, F.Kluri. So the time is upon us. We must decide whether to recall or keep our precious Kluri. With the upcoming patch, she will get a nerf. A nerf that most of us didn't see coming, and a lot of us are super pissed off about that. So basically what they did to her was they increased her skill 3 cooldown by 1 turn. So instead of 4 turns fully upgraded, now it's 5 turns, which honestly with the speed on some Kluris isn't really a big deal. Also, they changed her Trust Rune effect, so now instead of 15% to grant an extra turn, she has a 10% chance to increase her combat readiness by 50% at the end of the turn. This is a pretty big nerf to this skill, I'm not gonna lie. So, it's pretty painful to see the change to the rune. Because of this, the chain of defense break into attack, increasing combat readiness of all allies. It was great and all, but we won't be able to do that anymore. Still, regardless of these changes, this does not break Kluri. She's still an amazing unit that has her place in team comps regardless of the nerf. Okay, so now the question that everyone's been asking themselves, like, should you recall, F.Kluri? And, the answer for that is maybe. I know it's, not probably what you wanted to hear, but, just listen to me for a little bit. If you right now are literally using F.Kluri in all content and use her constantly, if she's a staple in every single team that you build, then don't recall her. Her nerf doesn't really break her, it just slows her down a bit, which is fine. So a solution to this would be to put even more speed on her. It's honestly simple as that. She still heals, she still defense breaks, she still provokes, she still dispels, and still grants combat readiness to allies. Like, bro, she's still a sick unit, so like, think about that. If that's you, just keep her, don't recall her. Now, if you find yourself using her less and less, or heck, you barely use her anymore, and just have her there as a just in case unit, then I would recall her for sure, because it's not every day that we literally get a chance to get all of our resources back that we invested into a character. That means gold, EXP, catalyst, runes, and frickin' Molagoras, bro. So if this is you, the player that doesn't really use F.Kluri too often, recall her and make yourself a new, pretty maxed 6-star. So me personally, I will recall F.Kluri and use her resources to max out, something like my Bologna that I've been meaning to do, but just keep procrastinating on. So yeah, those are my thoughts on F.Kluri. Alright, so next up we have Sez. And boy am I happy about this one. Sez just became a god in PvP and Guild Wars. Like, this is a unit you'll want to watch out for. So basically they increased his S1 stun rate from 30% to 50%. So his S2 now has a 30% chance for an AoE stun and increases his combat readiness by 50%. And now listen to this if you haven't been listening. His S3 resets his cooldown when it defeats an enemy. This skill literally kills an opponent 99% of the time if the enemy is stunned. So now his synergy with stun teams is 1,000 times better. So watch out for those ML Araminthia and Sez combos in Guild War and PvP, because they just got a whole lot worse. So for Sez, I would build him with a ton of speed. You want him to go first, you want him to stun, you want him to disrupt, and then you want him to nuke. Alright, so next up we have Specter Tenebria. She has now become the single target focused team's worst nightmare. Her S1 damage increased by 20%. Her S2 now makes her unable to be targeted as long as her allies are alive. And we can assume she's still hit by AoE hits. So also her attack and defense increase every time someone is defeated, regardless, ally or foe. This isn't really specified. And her S3 now has a stun. So she can stun one enemy and decrease the combat readiness of all others by 50%. And this is on a 4-turn cooldown. You pair her up with something like an Auxilary Lots, and I would love to see how how the combat readiness boost synergizes with her. Now we have Auxilary Lots. I actually own Auxilary Lots, and after reading this, I definitely plan on adding him to my Guild Wars defense team. Okay, so his S1 now increases combat readiness by 15%. His S2 now increases an ally's attack for 2 turns, increases their combat readiness by 100%, and then increases his own, so Lot's attack for 2 turns, and his own combat readiness by 30%. So if those 2 skills don't disrupt teams enough, his S3 is an AoE 2-turn silence with a 4-turn cooldown. So we want to build him with tons and tons of speed, and this guy could pretty much grant you a permanent attack buff on your ally. Okay, so Kitty Clarissa is a unit I'm not really familiar with, but her S2 now decreases enemy buff duration by 2 turns instead of 1. Her S3 cooldown is reduced by 1, and her buff loveliness cannot be dispelled anymore. This is pretty great for her. So again, I don't own her, but from my understanding, her buff allowed her to dual attack with the ally of the highest attack power. So having her on a speed set makes her even more viable as a cleanser, buff remover, and a sub DPS, allowing her to attack with the ally with the highest attack power. So she seems like she would go really good on those heavy offensive teams, and that's how I would go about her. Alright, so next up is Assassin Cidd. So his S2 now increases his combat readiness by 30% and grants attack buff for 1 turn when an enemy is defeated. I made the mistake in the slide. I thought it read once per battle, but now that we see it correctly, this shit is crazy with the buff. So his S3 now decreases the combat readiness of the opponent by 20% more, which is always, awesome for disrupting teams. So I also own Assassin Cidd, and now I'm kind of getting ideas of pairing him up with Auxilary Lots, just for the lulz to see how much I can bother teams. Now we have Tywin, or Tywin, whatever you want to call him. Not much to say here. His S3 all-out attack now grants 100% chance to defense break. So he's like our little weaker version of a water Bellona with a 100% AoE defense break. I'll probably use him in arena, defense break, because he also grants himself a defense buff, so it could be good for wall comps. Try him out there and let me know how that works out. Next up is Cecilia. She's a waifu, so this is important. Listen. Her S3 is now 100% chance of AoE provoke. This makes her an even better frontline unit than she was before. So basically she needs to be built pretty sturdy, so you want to go HP set times 2 and 1 defense. With all this provoke, she really does need to be able to take a hit or 2 to allow your DPS to go in and do their thing. So now we have Basar. Basar is a unit I find really interesting, and it's mainly because of his name and the fact that he has a really nice high base attack. So in this update, our friend, the friendly merchant, gets a cooldown reduction to his S3 Sandstorm. So what does that mean? Well, now he has a 2-turn dispel / unable to buff on a 4-turn cooldown. That annoying little perk plus his pretty freaking high damage makes him really annoying opponent for PvP sweep teams. So how would you build him? If I had Basar, I would build him with an attack set and a crit sec 2-piece, just because he has naturally super high attack, so it stacks up pretty good. Now we have Zerato. I don't know much about Zerato, so I'll just tell him what they're doing to him. So now his S2 Ice Pick increases his combat readiness by 50% after he attacks. And on his S3, they reduced the cooldown by 1 turn. So now it can be brought down to 4 turn. This is an AoE stun, so I will assume that he could be useful for PvP AoE teams. Most of us have grown out of using Silk, but you know, she's still a waifu, so forever relevant. Her S2 has been changed now so that she only loses 1 focus instead of 2 when she's attacked. This is great because after 2 focuses she automatically uses single shot, and now her S3 has a 100% chance at max to decrease the speed of our enemy for 2 turns. Before I think it was like 95%. With these changes she still does, you know, her usual thing, just a little bit better. You still have to build her for speed, shit ton of speed, and she's still annoying as fuck in the, you know, lower tiers, early PvP stages. And now finally we have Crozet. So Crozet's S2 has been changed to now add defense buff when he casts his barrier on an ally. This actually makes him pretty viable for you know, Wyvern 10 and 11 comps, where a water tank is, you know, pretty sought out. So if you have him laying around, you know, maybe it's that time to invest a little bit in him and give him a try in Wyvern 11. You know, he might be what you need to clear it. Like you would with any tank, build him a wall, double HP, and a defense, ton of HP. You can't break HP. Before I let you go on about your day, let's just talk about some important changes. More specifically, the Molagora requirements are decreased by 30%, thank God. So Arena Season 2 is launching, and so is Arena Season 2 Shop. And the Powder of Knowledge Shop is getting an update. So, you know, look at the 2 little red arrows, those are important. Pay attention to those and get them. Sell your soul if you have to, just buy them, okay? So thank you guys for watching. I know it was a bit of a long video. I really appreciate it if you did stick through. And if you found this information useful, please don't forget to, you know, smash that like button and subscribe. Thank you all very much and have a great day. Until next time.